Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Camppatton Family Compound. And we got Chef Tech here tonight, and it's for the Monday night Fireside chat. And tonight's topic is things you do not want to freeze dry. And it's here, and here we are.
Hey, everybody.
All right, let me get over on the comment side here. All right, and
I like the raccoon better.
Yeah, it's a chef raccoon.
That's right. He just needs a wrench in his hand.
All right. So first one in was the Marshmallow Man, and that was about an hour and 15 minutes ago. And then, coming in on Mark's side, he goes second, and says he's screaming from his channel as well. And Cheryl Kaiser is his sister, and she's on there too as his moderator. Walt Rogers came in next on my channel, followed by Phelan Clan Wolf. And let's see what we got here. Who else is down here? And I've made some comments before about how the platform is taking more than the 30% they're supposed to on super chats. And so some people have started sending, Walt says sending an Amazon gift card to show support because of it. And actually, I think it's closer that they are taking 70% instead of giving 70%. The last time I checked it, because I noticed what it was, and boom, that's the way. So, yeah.
That's
all right. Yeah, it is. However, on channel memberships, they're still paying the full 70% on that, but on the super chats and stuff, it's not, because I know Phelan has sent me a bunch, and Wayne at Becoming Dangerous has sent some $5 super chats, and when it comes up on the thing on the tracking, it's like, wait a minute, why is there only $1.50 here? Yeah,
and there's something called Buy Me a Coffee, or is that on some other streaming channel?
That's on Nick, the Fat Electrician. He started that on his on his Instagram. They'd have it down there. Here's the link to buy me a coffee or buy me a beer, and
Oh, okay.
All right, let's see who else is in here.
Hey, Mo popped in on my channel. Yay!
Yeah, I see that, and Suzanne Galley is here as well, and Phelan's saying he's going to use gift cards as well from now. Yeah, because that way, if the person wants to receive gift cards rather than super chats, it does, basically they get the full thing, so it helps out a little bit better there. So those that were wondering what happened on Saturday over on Gray Man Prepping, why I didn't go live, I ate something. I don't know what it was. I think it was I think it may have been the watermelon, because my daughter said that her boys have all been acting up from the watermelon as well. They picked up a watermelon at
Sam's.
At Sam's, yeah, for the big get together Thursday night, and there's bowls of water, Tupperware containers of cubed watermelon in the fridge, and yeah. So I think
was it all flexible and spongy when she cut it?
No, it wasn't. No, it was nice, crisp, hard, but it was bright red.
Yeah,
like red number 40.
Like a little too red.
Yeah. So, yeah.
What's up, Tammy?
Look what came in on
from the woods.
Yeah, on your side.
Oh, she's on my channel?
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. Thanks, Tammy.
Yeah. So So Mark's learning here. This is his first time actually streaming live to his channel, folks. We're going to get to into the main topic here in a second. But Mark, do you see on the StreamYard chat? I don't know if it's showing you. It shows me that Tammy and Mo have little paperclip or chain links right next to them.
Yeah, I see that. My sister did too. That's okay. So that means they're on my channel.
That means they're coming in on anything other than my channel. Yeah. All righty. So anyway, so that's why I wasn't live on Saturday, and then right after I said I wasn't going to go live because I was making trips to the restroom.
You ate some watermelon?
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah, I had some. Only one way to say it. I was having some hellacious burps for several hours, and all of a sudden, wait a minute, that's not going to be a burp. That's coming to the wrong end.
A butt burp.
But anyways, right after I put it up that I wasn't going to be going live, the guys from Madrigal Tree Service, texted me or messaged me on Facebook saying, "Hey, we had a cancellation tomorrow. Can we come by and work on it some tomorrow?" Being yesterday, and I said, "Sure." And then I looked out the window, and they were just walking. They were walking up to go ring the doorbell, and so I went out there and talked to them, and yeah, they showed up at 7:30, and we're cutting trees down. They took down five trees on the one side, and I'm gonna be putting out some more some shorts and stuff here later on it. But my two youngest grandsons that are about the same height are standing near where the one cut off and hit, and it's laying on the ground. So they step up against it. There's about this much tree above their heads. So there he is, like, dang. Yeah. So yeah, that's going to be a lot of firewood, and some of it is straight sections. I talked to Mayor Curtis, neighbor across the street here. He has a sawmill, and he's been sawing up a bunch of stuff, doing projects over there. And go, hey, you want some cottonwood? I can have a bunch of long cottonwood. Maybe too long for you, but so he's going to come over sometime this week and take a look at it. And
as long as there's no nails in it.
No, there's no nail. Well, up there, no, there's no nails up there in the good straight sections. So, anywho, so that brings me up to speed today, and let's get on with the stuff here. Oh, I need to change something here from the down below. Where's it? Banners. There we go. So, so Mark's starting to put out content. So you want to subscribe to him. That works too. So things you do not want to freeze dry. And so I'm going to go forward one slide. What you see here. Come on, let's go forward. Boom, there it is.
Yes, yeah, so that's tomato sauce or fresh tomatoes. So,
I saw the thing on it. It was sauce.
Yep.
And so it froze weird.
That's if you use your freeze dryer as the freezer, which you can, that can happen.
Yeah.
So freeze drying tomato sauce, I do it all the time.
Yeah.
And it's great. I mean, I pre-freeze it in a freezer, then I throw it in a freeze dryer, and it expands a little bit, but not much. You get a couple bubbles. The bubbles are caused by sugars. So like watermelon and stuff, well, certain watermelon, not the ones you ate, but watermelon, really sweet fruits, kiwi, stuff like that. They can bubble because the sugar gets trapped and tries to get out and makes a bubble. That's not really something you shouldn't freeze dry. It's something you should really pre-freeze what you're going to freeze dry in another freezer. So that way it makes sure you freeze everything and it doesn't only freeze part of the tray, because the freeze dryer only knows what its thermometer knows which is up in the back of the container there. So,
Yeah.
but so what does a freeze dryer do? It literally removes water. It doesn't. Now, what doesn't have water in it? Fat. So you don't want to try to freeze dry butter, high oils. Now, and I brought this up before. If you go to some of those, we'll call them the freeze dried companies that sell cans of chicken, beef, stuff like that. If you read their labels on there, there's 12 to 16% fat in those on the nutrient label on the back. You're not freeze drying it, but as long as everything else is freeze dried and you remove all the oxygen with your O2 absorbers, seal it up properly, the fat won't go rancid. Right. Fat will go rancid if there's even a little bit of air or moisture in there. The moisture is going to make your food spoil. Yeah. That's why I weigh stuff, and I'll start throwing videos up on that here shortly.
All right, Howie, you say you got an echo. Who's echoing, me or Mark? Give him a few seconds to answer that one, because I don't hear an echo through my earbud, and generally I can hear the echoes when somebody's echoing.
I only have a tiny bit of volume on my. Oh wait, that's on your channel. I can kill that one. That might have helped. Did that help?
Yeah. But the thing is, I didn't hear you echoing. So when you're talking, here's an echo.
Oh, yeah, I don't hear it.
And Cheryl doesn't hear it.
It might be the echo from the cave walls you're in. Just kidding. Howie, love you, Howie. Gonna hop on another one of your videos one of these mornings. Yeah. So you don't want to freeze dry high fat content. Right. Is the basics. I mean, if you're making, I do a lot of cooking. Obviously, I went to culinary school. I cook lots of stuff. A lot of stuff has fat in it. If I'm doing I won't freeze dry a cream sauce that had a lot of butter and heavy cream and stuff in it, because the fat won't freeze dry. It's almost too much fat at that point, and then it won't rehydrate well. Yeah. So you'll wind up with like clumps of fat. And it's just, you can freeze dry most anything you want as long as it has a low fat content. Like I said, you don't want to freeze dry butter. Make ghee, can it. You don't need to freeze dry butter. And one thing, another minor off topic, but in topic, don't try to rehydrate something thinking, oh, I want this buttery. Let me rehydrate my steak. I've freeze dried steak. You saw me on one of the last videos. Don't try to rehydrate it with butter, because what's missing out of your food? Water. Fat molecules are about 300 times the size or bigger than water molecules. It's not going to suck the butter up in lieu of water. It's thirsty for water. You're in the desert. You don't want a stick of butter. You want a glass of water.
Yeah. All right. And Shawnee just came in too.
Hey, Shawnee.
So as I posted a bit right up, so we also have Sumi here and Prepper for the Ages. And I froze, and of course Howie. So
wait, so Howie's on my channel.
Howie's on both channels.
Sweet.
There we go. Howie's got both of us up. And no problem about being late. We're just getting into it. We're having some interesting conversations beforehand, because I could tell by the number of people in here that it was the notifications were going out slow. So Angel's here as well. So what other foods have you seen do this sort of thing, where it kind of bubbles up and does funky stuff? And
so the worst thing that you can do is like gummy worms. Now, I mean, you can do it now, and I think I went over this the last time. Freeze drying candy. Number one, there's no need to freeze it. There's no water in it. If there is, it's such a minute amount. it's not worth it. When you're quote unquote freeze drying Skittles or gummy worms, the two things it needs is heat to soften the sugars and a vacuum to expand the sugars because there's air trapped inside. Yeah. I tried freeze drying Twizzlers, didn't work because there's like almost no air inside those things. That's why they're so hard and chewy. So there's no air, so there's nothing to expand. But I did gummy worms once. Never do it again. Set it for candy mode, walked away, figured I'd come back down, it's done. Oh, I came back down, it was done. Those gummy worms had expanded and gotten into the heater tray above it. Ooh. And it took me 2 hours. I had to take the whole thing apart, take the heater tray out, take it over, wash it off, get all the sugars off of there, and vowed to never do it again. Because I didn't buy a freeze dryer to make candy out of candy. That's my theory. Yeah.
All right, Glenn's here, How to Garden. And if you guys haven't caught it, Glenn has put out 4 shorts so far making bread. He's going through the process, putting out a short on it. Oh, yeah, sweet. I actually got the notification for number 5, but it's still marked as private. So, and speaking about candy, kind of going a little bit sideways here a little bit. You're talking about Twizzlers and stuff. Now, if Corsair Trainers was in here, he could probably confirm this for the federal prison where he was at as a guard, lieutenant, I think it was. One of the inmates in the county jail in Contra Costa County got some Twizzlers, sent to him, and he was allowed to keep them. Well, he broke them up so he could hide them in a cell and stuff, or people wouldn't find them all to steal them. And he forgot about a couple of them for several months.
Hard as a rock.
And when he found them, it was like, and he went looking for something in his cell, which he used as a weapon because somebody ticked him off and took a swipe at him of a sharpened toothbrush. So he would want to find something else. So he found the Twizzlers. And he just wetted it a little bit and stuck the two together but they're still rock hard. Made himself and so he was walking along like he was chewing it, and the guy came up to him and just went right in the guy's eye.
Wow, Twizzler shiv. That's
to the eye. Yeah, exactly. So candy is forgive me, candy is a two-edged sword.
Double-edged sword. Nice. You can have gummy bears, but not Twizzlers. Yeah.
Channel for the bread is How to Garden here. That's Glenn. And so actually give me a second here. And let's see. Okay, I got one more thing we don't want to freeze dry.
Well, that person, no. Other certain individuals, if you slice them thin, they freeze dry fine. You may just not want to eat it.
So let me see if I can bring this up here real quick here. YouTube.
So I freeze dried oyster crackers, and everybody says, why would you freeze dry an oyster cracker? Well, you buy oyster crackers, they're in a really crappy bag on the shelf, and after about a month sitting at home, they just get icky tasting. So, and there's like 2-3% of moisture in there, maybe a little more, depends on humidity. So I throw them in a tray, freeze dry them, and there's no moisture. Then I just throw them in seal bags. I don't even put the oxygen absorber in there. I just put them in seal bags, like a portion size, and throw them in a bucket. And they'll be fine. It's like any other cracker. If there's no air in there and no moisture, they're good for a long time. And I'm not worried about there won't be any moisture in them. So, yeah, I'll freeze dry oyster crackers. I'm going to do graham crackers next because I love me some graham crackers.
Okay, I got to complain about the platform because I just did a search to bring Glenn's channel there, And so he's got almost 3,000 subscribers. Came out ahead of him on the search thing is How to Garden, 2 subscribers. How to Garden, 41 subscribers. How to Garden, no subscribers. How to Garden, 3 subscribers. 100. Yeah. So, it's not bringing it up as it should, especially since I've subscribed to him already. All right.
There's probably so many people named How to Garden on their channel. Yeah. They're buried. Now, if you punch in Chef Tech 86, I'm like second on the list because there is no other.
Yeah. Okay. So I gotta go. Let me go to shorts here so I can pull that one up. There we go. So here's the link to the first one here. Control C. All right. So there's the first video from Glenn's on his making bread. So that's the link to it. Yeah.
Sweet.
But when I first went in How to Garden, none of the How to Garden channels came up. And I think there were about 15 of them. None of them came up. Some other ones which were really weird came up. It's like, yeah. Anywho.
Probably got some stuff for the Olympics on there too.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, Howie said his favorite to freeze dried is watermelon.
Yeah, it's good. It's sticky. That's the thing. So you freeze dry a high sugar content fruit like an orange. I freeze dried orange slices or orange segments. I freeze dried the what are the little cuties? Well, little cuties. I freeze dried those. They're except because there's so much sugar in them when they come out. They're not wet. They're just squishy because of the sugar, and they stick together. They're really good. But watermelon, same thing. I freeze dried watermelon is probably the 5th thing I freeze dried. I still have some in a jar, and I open the jar up. I take a bite of it. It's still good, but it doesn't crunch and doesn't break like an apple does. Right. It actually mushes in your teeth because it's the only thing left is the sugar and some cellulose fiber.
Yeah, that's why there was several other things that my wife bought some freeze-dried stuff at the farmer's market last year. And first time, I can't remember what it was. I bit into it. It's like, okay. Next one, I just put it in my mouth like I treated it like a hard gumdrop or a Walther's caramel. You sit and you just suck on it. Oh, it's so much better just to suck on it till it got soft and chewy and stuff.
Because all the saliva in your mouth went into the fruit or whatever, and then all the flavors came out at that point.
Yeah. But that was a good deal there, Glenn.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. 50 pounds of flour for trading for squash and tomatoes.
So I did learn. I tried putting up another short the other day. And I'm like, oh, let me put a whatever the first picture you can put up in there. Well, that picture I put up, the thumbnail, I put that up. It was in the wrong orientation format, so it put it up as a regular video. So I got to try to go in and edit it and get it off there because I have 3 views. I'm like, really? So I got to go in there and try to edit out that thumbnail, or rotate it, or just take it out completely and let it go into the shorts because I got like 2,000 views on one of my shorts.
Yeah. They wanted me. YouTube wanted me to buy the version of the what's it called?
Their video editor?
vidIQ. So I could put thumbnails up on my shorts. I said, screw that. I ain't paying them.
I didn't have to pay YouTube. It just said you've been on long enough. You can put a thumbnail up. I'm like, all right. So I took a picture. It went up sideways.
Yeah. But once you become monetized, then they're gonna stop allowing you to do the freebies. Yeah. All right. So Lee from Cold War Prepper just came in, and Angel's Homestead. Let me just put that. Got 2 more cases of tomatoes. And And 2 cases of apples given. All right. Excellent.
Yeah, I'm not worried about tomatoes with my 50 tomato plants that are the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. I got 2 tomatoes that are in the 1 gallon or gallon and a half little pots, and I gotta up pot those tomorrow. Actually, I'm gonna up pot one and see if my sister wants my daughter wants the other one across the street for her boys to be there, but they're all starting to get little tomatoes on them, so probably needs to be up potted. The one I got in the 30 gallon or the 15 gallon pot is doing pretty good, but I got to add some more. So the soil's starting to compact now, so I need to add more to it because they'll send out roots out of the side of the little fuzzies on the tomatoes. So.
Oh, so one other thing I won't freeze dry, I tried it, is canned vegetables. I had some vegetables, like mixed vegetables from Wally World or whatever, that were getting on in age. I was like, oh, let me just throw them in a freeze dryer. And I just did a bunch of trays of it. They're terrible, especially because most of it is potatoes and the mixed vegetables. And I get a couple carrots, a couple peas, and two lima beans. But they're horrible. I rehydrated some. I'll eat it. They're edible. I'll just keep it in my stores. But it's not something I would eat on a regular basis. I won't. Now, like,
would it be okay for like a beef stew or something?
Yeah, I could throw them in something like that, and I wouldn't worry about it. But eating them, if I just rehydrated to eat it, I mean, canned mixed vegetables they just taste horrible anyway.
Yeah, so especially canned peas and canned corn.
Right. I did fresh asparagus. That came out amazing. I just blanch it. If you're gonna do a fresh vegetable, you want to blanch it just a minute or so just to get that color, and then you cool it off real quick. Then you freeze it. Then when you rehydrate it, it's amazing to watch, like broccoli, florets, and cauliflower and that rehydrate. But there's no fat in those, so I mean, it's a matter of sugar and stuff. What you wanna dehydrate, and how it's going to rehydrate, and how it's going to act in your freeze dryer. So certain things, like you could do garlic, you're going to want to change your oil and make sure your freeze dryer is not in the house when you do it, because your whole house will stink. I mean, if you like garlic, you'll smell like an Italian kitchen. You're good.
Hey,
haven't done that yet.
At least you won't be attacked by vampires.
That's right.
And probably any other goth characters either. They get stuff all mixed up anyways.
But anybody have any questions on what you think you can freeze dry? Anybody going to get a freeze dryer? I know they're not cheap.
Yeah. Well, like we're it's in our plans, but it's also not for the first year or two after the staff sergeant retires up here. And once she's up here and we get the garden going full tilt, then then she'll take neighbor on the other side of town, April, up on using testing using her freeze dryer and stuff. Actually, she's got a second freeze dryer now, I heard. So
wow,
use some to do her stuff. So
yeah, Angels, I haven't seen the Cube freeze dryer. That's a new company model out there. There's a lot of people that worked for Harvest Right that left and started their own company. So there's still, I mean, just like any brand new first model, you may or may not have issues with it. I don't know anything about it, so I'm not going to say anything about it. I'd have to look that one up. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. I looked it up. Cube freeze dryer and Cube 4+4. It actually has Home Depot has it listed for $5,400 and change.
Oh my Lord!
Yeah. Summit
Better be worth it.
Appliance has one, and HL-2 has one. Let me just bring this up here so everybody can see what I found. So this is just, there's the cube one, the most expensive one here.
Jeez.
Yeah, and there's the other one, half the price, actually less than half the price.
Yeah, you get the medium harvest right with a 4 tray in there cheap now because they're all selling the 5 trays. The thing I don't want about the 5 tray, it makes it sound great. Oh, I can do 5 trays instead of 4. Well, you got to think about how much moisture content you're removing. So if you're doing like trays of marinara sauce or tomato sauce, there's a lot of moisture in there, and that's going to impact the because it all freezes to the drum. And if too much of it, if it gets too big on the ice, it starts to hit the heater trays, and then it goes into like a loop mode.
Yeah.
It thaws out the ice, goes into the air, and redeposits on the side of the drum, and you can get basically an impacted freeze dryer if you have way too much water content. I prefer my 4 tray. I'm sure there's reasons for the 5 low stuff, candy makers and stuff like that.
All right. Here's Home Depot has it says pharmaceutical 7 tray.
Yeah, who makes that? Oh, no, that's a Harvest Right.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking at that emblem up there at the top. It's just like the Harvest Right's other one. So, but it says pharmaceutical.
Yeah, that's not for food.
Yeah. Oh, and here's the 8 tray pharmaceutical.
Yeah. Don't know what kind of pharmaceuticals you're going to put in there, but I mean, I can imagine there's some leafy greens that would go in there that would work just fine, but they would be so flammable. They wouldn't smoke anymore. It would just burn.
And some cough syrups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So prepper for the ages. If you freeze dry different things at the same time, do the smells mix? No, they don't. I've done that. I've put in everything from I've put apple slices. I've put canned baked beans, which actually come out really well. And eggs, raw. Oh, that's another thing. Raw eggs. We'll get into that. Raw eggs. I put them all in at the same time. Neither one of them picks up the other flavor because when it's freeze drying, there's a vacuum in there, so the fumes don't absorb into the next food over. There's really not much in the way of the smell of the food. You get a little bit out of your vacuum pump, but any of the water that comes out, it sticks to it. It adheres to the drum on the freezer part. Now you will smell all those different smells when you defrost, and it's dripping into the bucket. I get buckets of water that have odors I can't even. They're good, but I can't identify it because it was like 3 different foods in there at once. I'm like, okay, I don't even know what I'm smelling here because I had like 3 different foods at the same time. So
hey,
no,
maybe you ought to freeze some of those cubes and send them off to a perfume factory where it's, hey, try this aroma.
Yeah. OD Chinese buffet. Yeah. A little bit of everything.
Ode the foodie.
So no, it doesn't mix.
Yeah.
And Mo said Angie, his wife, wants to get one in December. Yeah. Have Angie call me, Mo. We'll talk.
I think it's around middle of November, towards the first week of November. I start getting the emails in large numbers from Harvest Right, involve the ads and stuff. And then after the first of the year, I get some, all right, after clearance, the last week of December and first couple weeks of January, clearing out inventory before they do their do actual inventory to see how much they have. But those are 2 times I get the big sale ads from them.
No, I'm registered, so I get them all the time. So one other thing you may want to reconsider on freeze drying is you bought, and it happens to me. I have a lot of beef in big chunks, steaks, whatever, roast in the freezer already. They're raw.
Mm-hmm.
you can freeze dry raw meats. I do it a lot. Fish, all that stuff. But if it's really big and you need to thaw it to cut it, it needs to refreeze. And I think a lot of y'all know when you refreeze a raw food that was previously frozen, it kind of degrades the flavors and picks up other flavors and that. So if you have a chunk of meat and you have a freeze dryer, you want to do it, thaw it out, cut it up, cook it. I would suggest doing a sous vide or something like that. And then once it's cooked, you can refreeze it again and then freeze dry it. So, but freeze drying a frozen, thawed, refrozen piece of protein, I wouldn't suggest it, especially fish.
Yeah. The thing, I would just from the beginning cut the steaks up into the meat up into smaller pieces, so that once it's frozen dry, you just put them in individual serve size Mylar bags or seal meal bags, so they're individual servings.
Yeah, you got to be careful if you buy stuff, slice it thin, and freeze it, and it's all packed together in a giant chunk and freezes as a brick. That could be a problem.
Yeah, so I was saying freeze dry and put each one into its own little, bag.
Yeah, you got to be careful how you can't go too thick. So you don't want to. Another thing you don't want to freeze dry, a 3-pound roast beef. Number one, it won't fit in your freeze dryer because it's too thick. And even if you put it in there or somehow was able to figure out how to get it in there, which it won't, it'll take probably 4 to 5 days to freeze dry. But then you got to think about rehydrating it. The water's got to get back in. It's going to take a week, and then the meat goes bad before it rehydrates before you can do anything with it. So, cut down on restaurant expenses. I know that feeling.
And let's see, Moon Berserker.
What do you mean? Refreezing does make it dry fat. Well, if it was because it's already partially dried out, but you lose some of the quality of the flavor.
Yeah.
So if you have frozen roast beef, you thaw it out, slice it, refreeze it to put it in a freeze dryer. Yeah, it already lost some moisture, so the process may go a little quicker. I would like to see somebody try to measure that timing. I'm not going to waste food trying to measure what the difference is, but I know just in the past before freeze dryers, you freeze something, you thaw it and refreeze it. Yeah, because when it freezes, the ice crystals expand and break the cell walls inside your proteins, even vegetables and stuff like that. You thaw it out, it's now a little bit limp and mushy because of that. Refreeze it again, it ain't going to get any better.
Yeah. All right. Prepper for the ages. Having been a Scoutmaster for many years, the Scouts' favorite thing for hiking and stuff is of course the commercially done stuff where everybody has their single or double serving bags depending on how much they want to eat. And generally, after Scouts have been out a few times, they get a double serving for dinner. But they buy the double serving ones. The favorite ones out there, this Mountain House spaghetti with meat sauce, and the Chili Mac, Mountain House Chili Mac. Those are the two favorite ones for hiking and camping.
I make my own.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, you can buy Mountain House. They're pricey. They're good. But the way when I freeze dry stuff, because I have lots of, I'll call them MREs. They're not really MREs because they're not ready to eat. You got to add hot water to it and let them rehydrate. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I've done like rice-a-roni. I'll cook rice-a-roni. I'll use a little bit of butter to do my rice-a-roni normal. I'll add a can of corn, liquid and all, and chicken tenders chopped up in small pieces. And I'll cook it as all together. I used to do it by itself, and that was my meal because I have, starch, protein, and a vegetable. And I'll do that, and I'll throw it I'll measure them out and make sure I have equal amounts of chicken and everything. Everything's weighed. And I throw it in the bags, and I make sure I know how much water I need to add, and I just add hot water to it, let it sit. And I got what I like. It's what I made, my recipe, my flavors. And I do hamburger helper, which I'll use the box, but I add my own more stuff to it. And you could do cheese. Cheese is fatty. But raw cheese, or not raw cheese, unmelted cheese. Something about the molecules of fat are actually contained in the protein, like a protein cell, and you can actually rehydrate it and never know it was ever freeze dried. And there's a method for that. That's not why we're here, but you can do that. You can do melted cheese. I have a lot of melted cheese in my chili mac, and yeah, I put melted cheese in there. It doesn't rehydrate perfect, but it tastes just like I made it. It may have a little grainy texture to the beef. You don't want to overcook your beef. Everybody says brown your ground beef before you make your sauce. Now, don't brown it. Just cook it till it's just cooked.
Yeah.
And then put your stuff in there. And then because if it browns it like puts a shell around the protein, and water just has a harder time getting back in after it's freeze dried.
Yeah. All right. CB is in the house, and Glenn has a question. How well does freeze-dried scrambled eggs go?
Okay, so I don't freeze dry cooked eggs. They come out grainy as all get out. I do freeze dried raw eggs, and I'm about to do another batch and try a test. I'll scramble a dozen eggs, run through a strainer, make sure I got no shells in there, put them in a tray, pre-freeze them, put them in my freeze dryer, pull them out. When they come out, I throw them in a Ziploc bag or whatever, and I take a rolling pin, crush it up to a powder, and throw it in a jar. When I rehydrate, you just add enough water until it looks like scrambled eggs again. I found out from another channel, if you add a little bit of salt, now if you're on a low sodium diet, add a little bit of salt to your freeze-dried eggs. It does something to the proteins, and it lets them rehydrate faster and better. And I got to test it out. And when you rehydrate it, basically you have scrambled eggs. You can't freeze dry a whole, just crack an egg in a tray and freeze dry, because the fat is all by itself in the yolk. You try to freeze dry that, it won't work. It'll never rehydrate. But scrambled eggs, the proteins do their thing, and it encapsulates like mayonnaise. It's an emulsion, and you can rehydrate it. A little bit of salt apparently does it. It helps it out better to rehydrate. So, but I probably have 8-10 dozen eggs in 1.5 jars or pint jars in my stores of just raw scrambled eggs, and they're dry, so I can throw, if I want to make bread and it needs eggs, I'll put in like 4 tablespoons of powdered raw egg into the flour mix, and it turns yellow, and it's eggs. Instead of putting whole eggs, you just have to change your water amount when you're making bread.
Yeah. So,
liver. Okay. You know what?
Yeah.
Sorry, Berserker. You want to freeze dry liver? Knock yourself out. Not doing it. And I'm sure. I did turkey sausages, pre-cooked. Jimmy Dean got a wicked deal on them. Those came out great. I bought Jimmy Dean regular pork sausages. They're pre-cooked. Put them in a freeze dryer. They came out okay. My freeze dryer had a film of grease everywhere because of the pork fat. Turkey sausage, not so bad. I did a lot of turkey sausage. Pork sausage, I'll probably never freeze dried again, but I got a bunch.
Now, was that the raw or pre-cooked?
It's pre-cooked Jimmy Dean in the bags. There's an Amish store I go, or a Mennonite store I go to. They get stuff that, it's close to expiration or whatever. I got it was a box of 36 Jimmy Dean turkey sausage patties, $2.99.
Yeah.
Who's going to resist?
What I noticed about the Jimmy Dean pork cooked pork sausage patties, it comes in a little. You get 4 of them, but I'll open it up. I'll take 2 out, and they're just covered. And what I'm going to do to heat them up, I'll put them in the microwave. But what I'll do is I'll have the hot water running, and I'll rinse all the fat off that can off the outside.
Yeah, I didn't.
That's
I didn't do that.
a lot of fat.
Yeah,
and then when I put it in, I put it on a couple some paper towels folded so I have multiple layers. Put it on there, same number of layers on top of it. Put it in for half the time in the microwave. Turn it over. When I pull it out, take a spatula and just and a whole bunch more fat comes out of it. Still tastes great, but
Oh,
I got
yeah.
get rid of a lot of the fat.
They're pork sausage. I haven't rehydrated the pork patties yet. We'll see what happens. The last time I did the turkey sausages, I just threw them in. I just put a little pan of water on the stove because I'm going to eat them hot. And I boiled water and just threw the sausages in there and just let them boil for a while. They absorb the hot water really well. And yeah, I just ate them. So the turkey sausages work great. Ratatouille. Yep.
Yeah.
That's all vegetables and tomatoes and stuff. That you dehydrated it. That's fine. Rehydrating something that was dehydrated is you got to put it in. You got to really boil it.
Yeah.
Freeze dried's different. It's not just air blowing over it and hardening the shells on the outside. It literally sucks all the water out of it. But yeah, andouille sausage pieces. Yeah, a little bit of fat. You probably could, but it's mostly fat. I think andouille is like 50% fat, just like pepperoni and salami. I wouldn't waste my time with deli meats. Well, that kind of deli meat.
And if you have the like the salami and stuff in its casing and everything, and that some of those the good stuff can hang for years.
Yeah, hang it or throw it in a zip, throw it in a seal meal bag and throw it in a corner. I mean, and it's funny because you get a little bit of white mold, totally different topic. A little bit of white mold on the outside of your cured sausages is not bad. Just wash it off. Now, if it's green or purple or blue or some other rainbow color, yeah, you may want to throw that crap out because that'll kill you.
Yeah.
I never thought about the freeze drying liver for dogs.
Yeah. That's so if you get a deer, someone gives you a deer or a steer or whatever, and you get the liver, it's like, okay, dog food. Because dogs love liver, I know that.
Now, the thing about freeze drying food, when you put it in a package and it'll last, however long, 10, 15, 20, 25 years, as long as it was packaged correctly and freeze dried correctly, all the water's out of it. Once you open it, it's a sponge. So once you open that pack of, freeze dried liver treats for your dog, unless you keep resealing it, eventually moisture is going to get in there and you guys got to use it all.
Yeah.
Once moisture gets back in there again, because it's looking for moisture. I mean, you took it all away. It's thirsty. Needs it back.
And that's one of the things too.
Yep.
When it comes to freeze dried stuff, I mean, the things we're buying down at the farmers market were small bags, with stuff in it. And
you can buy the bags with the little clear windows in it to see what's in there. And
that's what it had. It had clear on one side, Mylar on the other.
Yep. Well, it's a clear Mylar. It's kind of different. Those are fine for short-term storage and snacks and stuff like that. But if you're looking for long-term storage, now stay away from the clear window to see your food. That doesn't work. It doesn't seal it. It doesn't hold the oxygen out as well as good 7 mil Mylar will.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is if you put it in small, once it's freeze dried and you put it into bags, you don't have to put it in a gallon sized bag. You can put it in smaller, half quart, pint size bags. Yeah.
Just a matter of how much money you want to spend on bags.
Yeah.
So I bought a 5-pound bag of roasted almonds for my wife. And I split them up. She likes her little, I think it's a 2-ounce portion. So I didn't put them in Mylar bags. Now there's not much moisture in almonds, but I freeze dried them anyway. And I threw them in these I have little clear bags for my my chamber sealer. And I put her 2-ounce portion in those and just sealed them up. And they're clear. You can see them and all that. But once you get all the moisture off of a nut and keep the air off of it, they'll last a very long time, as opposed to leaving your diamond crystal walnuts in a bag on a shelf. And 3 years later, you're making cookies for Christmas and they're rancid because those bags are terrible. They don't really keep the air out.
Oh, let's see.
Well,
Trying to think of,
that sounds like fun, Moon Berserker. Freeze dried treats for dog in South America. That's awesome.
mhm. uh, trying to think. Oh, peanut butter.
No,
I was,
no, too much
don't
oil.
do don't do it too much oil. And here, just
You want to can peanut butter? I did it once. I still have some. Actually, I opened a jar on one of your shows like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
It was Cisco peanut butter. I'm sure it had all kinds of bad stuff in there you're not supposed to eat. But I heated it, threw it in half-pint jars, threw it in a pressure canner for like 10 minutes or 15 minutes at my pressure, and pulled them out. It had some strange-looking oil veins in there. There's a lot of fat in there. And they're on the shelf. I think I did those in 2018. And I opened a jar on your show, and I ate it. I was like, holy crap, it worked.
Yeah.
Never tried it, and I got like 40 of them down there. So I probably got peanut butter good for a while. I wouldn't freeze dry it. What's the point?
Yeah.
It's all fat.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I froze.
So somebody earlier mentioned stuff for.
Trying to think of things that, not to, anything else that not to freeze dry. Oh, don't freeze dry alcohol. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
it doesn't need it.
Kind of. It's like freeze drying water at that point,
Yeah. All right. So Cold War Preppers going live in about 12 minutes or so.
Mm-hmm.
And it says mistakes I've made prepping is the topic. So those that are going to, after we wrap it up here, you can head over to Cold War Prepper, and I'll see if I can get the link up here, set up here for you, so you guys can see it. Go over there. I myself, it looks like I'm going to have a long conversation with the wife. She just sent me some pictures and said, "What is this stuff?" And I have no idea. Something from it was addressed. It's weird. It looks like a spam email, but it's a packet. It was something email. It was mailed to me at that house. My name on it. Underneath it says Cinema Collaboratorum. Yeah, Collaboratorum. And then the address. So it's like, that's like a spam thing of something else.
Oh yeah, don't try to freeze dry spam. It's 70% fat.
Yeah.
I mean, you can freeze dry your spam mail. There's no fat in that. It's just paper, but.
Okay, let's see here. I'm looking to see. It's not showing it to me here, so give me a second here. I'll look at Cold War Preppers.
Yeah, good point, Berserker. Yeah, whole chicken legs with bones in. Don't try to freeze dry anything with bones in it. It doesn't work.
I can imagine.
Thank you for that.
I can imagine what would happen there. All right, so here's the link to Cold War Prepper. So you guys can head over there as soon as we wrap it up here. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys what's coming up here during the week here. All right, so tomorrow on Gray Man Prepping, the topic is defensive fencing. We're talking defensive against fencing against critters and animals and stuff like that. And I know it's going to come up, so we will address other things as well as far as defensive fencing goes. Thursday night is the Midnight Ride with Gray Man Prepping. And then Friday back here on Camppatton Family Compound is rain barrel usage with disabilities. So we'll be addressing that on Friday. Saturday is Piggies for Preppers. And then next Monday is Tammy will be back with us, and we're going to talk about low sugar canning. And so since sugar is a preservative that's going to be one of the things we're going to be discussing next week. We're using less preservative. How's that going to affect the times and stuff? So we'll cover all that next Monday. And I should also be putting out here on Camppatton Family Compound about 7 more videos between now and Saturday on the tree removal. They came in yesterday and started. They did 1 day yesterday, a week early, and they'll be back next Sunday and it's going to be most of the week next week, taking everything down, the rest of them down, and getting everything chopped up and bucked up, and all the chipping of all the small branches and stuff done. So there's going to be a lot of videos coming out the following week or two as well. So that's what I have coming up here. And of course, Mark, you were going to try and make a video about what you mentioned earlier.
I got lots of thoughts in my head right now, and my sister and I are going to be collaborating on a lot of this. So hopefully on my Chef Tech channel, I'll be coming out with a few. That's all going to be cooking, canning, preserving, stuff like that. Not really canning that much, but freeze drying, just technical stuff. I mean, equipment I use, things like that. Magic Acres, I'm working on that one. That's going to be all stuff about the property and the gardens and stuff. I have one on that one right now. My tomatoes being chamber sealed.
Okay, I'm looking where'd that go. Just something. I was looking for one of the memes I've saved. If I find it here, it has the dates on it. That's what I wanted, was the date of the first run of Spam.
Yeah, I hear they're making a second round of Spam here shortly, because
it's supposed to be starting the next week or two. Yeah, that was it. It's like, hey, in 1940, whatever, they made the Hormel made their first run of Spam. Next week they're planning on starting the second run. All right, everybody. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up here, so you guys can head on over there. Get a cup of coffee, drink, ice cream, whatever you want, before you head over there to Cold War Prepper and check in with him there. So, as always, everybody, try to plant a garden if you don't have one in already. Try to do some indoor gardening. They have those little arrow gardens and stuff. Hey, make your own if you don't want to spend the money for one of those. Put stuff together and try growing lettuces, spinach, any type of stuff like that, herbs and stuff indoors. Try doing it, okay? There's some really nasty stuff in the grocery store now. All right, everyone. Take care, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow night over on Gray Man Prepping.
Thank you.